Hi, and welcome to our third episode of Tech Tuesdays. Today I want to talk to you about my favorite cloud-managed peer-to-peer solution, delivery optimization. Because it's cloud-managed, in order to use the peer-to-peer functionality of delivery optimization, devices have to have access to the internet. There's a lot of videos and blogs available for explaining why this is a fact and how the cloud service works, and I'll put some links in the description for you. Another hard requirement is that devices have to be running Windows 10. This means you won't see the delivery optimization service on your Windows 7 endpoints. To get the latest features available for delivery optimization, you want to be running the latest version of Windows. And also, if the devices are going to be managed by Active Directory, you want to make sure that you're importing the latest ADMX templates in order to control the latest DO policies. Devices that are cloud managed by Microsoft Intune can receive delivery optimization policies. You don't have to import anything before setting up the policies, you just set up the policies and then target them to the devices. And finally, unless you're blocking delivery optimization, all Windows 10 devices are using delivery optimization. Some companies do choose to block it, and I don't think it's a very good idea. And while there are a lot of reasons, I think the most compelling reason to not block it is that after you deploy a Windows 10 device, when someone logs into it for the first time, you're going to see another about 1.5 GB of updates. And it's anything from store apps, as well as core items such as DISM, runtime such as .NET, drivers, and any optional features that you might have enabled. If you aren't sure what optional features you have enabled, you can just check Settings, Optional Features. And a lot of people shy away when you start talking about cloud in the name of security and privacy. And just so you know, delivery optimization can't be used to download or send any personal content. Delivery optimization doesn't access your personal files or folders, and it doesn't change any files on your PC outside of its own cache. Delivery optimization downloads the same apps and updates that you would get through Windows Update and the Microsoft Store. It uses the same security measures. The validity and authenticity of what's being downloaded is checked both at download time as well as the install time. You can check how delivery optimization is performing and do a little bit of lightweight management through the Settings app. On a client, you can see how delivery optimization is performing in a few ways. The quickest way is to go to Settings and search delivery optimization. If the device doesn't have DO policies targeted to it, you should be able to toggle settings here. The first settings are right on the landing page, where you can control settings like whether or not your PC can peer with other PCs on your local network or internet-based PCs. In advanced settings, you can see how much you're uploading, with the maximum being 500 gigs to other PCs, as well as fine-tune performance settings. There are PowerShell commandlets for delivery optimization, and the first two came with Windows 10 1709. There's a blog post on the 2-Point Software blog explaining the original two. There's actually a lot of content on the 2-Point blog about delivery optimization, so I've dropped a link in the search that includes everything we've published about it so far. Let's dive into some of the commandlets. We've got the good old Get Delivery Optimization Perf step, which is just a mega overview of how DO is performing on a particular machine. The Get Delivery Optimization Perf snap this month is just like the commandlet that I just mentioned, but it's filtered on performance for the month. There's Get Delivery Optimization Status, which gives you info about the DO cache, such as file size, how much content was delivered to peer types, and how content was delivered and whether by peers or HTTP source, and the status of the file. Delivery optimization does have logs. You can use Get Delivery Optimization Logs and format it to get a somewhat readable output. Since it's all showing the same PID, you'll want to filter on the thread. You can control delivery optimization via legacy group policy. Just make sure you've imported the latest ADMX templates so that you're unlocking all the management features for the builds you're deploying. Here are some notable GPOs. Download mode. We recommend setting it to 2. Group ID. It's a unique ID so that peering happens with everybody that has that same ID. But then you have to be careful how you target this. Since the GUIDs need to be unique, you'll probably need a lot of OUs if you wanted super granular control of this way. But don't worry, there's other ways to control this, and I'll show it in a little bit. Delay for background and foreground jobs lets you make sure the DO service on the device waits a specific amount of time. This gives peers a little bit more time to respond before the delivery optimization service on your box decides to go out to the internet instead of look for peers to download content. You can dictate where the cache lives. You can set the max cache size. Do a lot of other cool things. You can even allow delivery optimization to seed while on battery. This would be useful if the device has a long battery life, such as a Surface device. Remember when I said if you were managing delivery optimization with group policy, you'd also have to set the group ID if you were selecting the download mode. Well, a better way to do it is within ConfigMgr client settings. I simply set up a custom policy and select delivery optimization. And then I let the ConfigMgr client agent use the ConfigMgr boundary groups for the delivery optimization group ID. New to ConfigMgr Technical Preview 1902 is the ability to use a distribution point as a DO cache server, or Delivery Optimization In-Network Cache Server, otherwise lovingly known as DOINC. You simply go to the properties of the distribution point, and on the General tab, you tick the box, Enable this distribution to be used as a DOINC server. Click the box, have some settings, say OK. And then you can watch the install happen on the dist manager log, and there is also a DOINC setup log, which should be here. However, it's hidden. There's a good blog post written by Johan Arwidmark on how to actually follow the setup and watch it happen, but you'll simply want to make sure that you see a success message before you start testing this new feature. The other change for delivery optimization in Technical Preview 1903 is the client settings. So again, we're going to create custom client settings for delivery optimization. And you'll notice there are exactly 2 device settings that you can set now, whereas in current branch there was only 1. So yeah, I want to let ConfigMgr set the DO group ID. And I also want to enable devices managed by ConfigMgr to use DOINC. And that's it. I also wrote a blog post on how to manage delivery optimization settings within Intune. Here's a quick video walkthrough of it. I'm in Intune in the Azure portal. I've gone to Device Configuration, Profiles, and I clicked on Create Profile. Here I've given the profile a name that makes sense to me as well as a description. I've targeted it to Windows 10 devices, and I selected the profile type of delivery optimization. I set my download mode to 2, which is HTTP blended with peering across a private group. And I'm using a custom group ID. I generated a unique GUID, and then I'm going to set some other settings, such as delay the background and foreground download. I'd like to wait about 5 seconds. Since I like to use VMs for testing, I also want to make sure that my simple spec VMs can also participate in DO. So I'm going to say that the minimum RAM required for delivery optimization is 2 gigs. The minimum disk size, because I like to keep my VMs quite small, I'm going to say 60 gigs. And some other fun things to set would be minimum content file size. I'm just going to say 1 meg. I'm going to allow laptops to peer as well, and while the recommended setting is 40%, I'd like to say 60% instead. I'm going to keep the cache drive where it's at, and I'm going to purge the cache after 30 days. And the cache size type could be absolute or percentage. But what I really want to do is also turn off delivery optimization if I'm connected to VPN. It's up to you how you set this. This is just how I'm doing it for this demo. And that's all we have for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed this quick overview of delivery optimization. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at @Arwidmark. Follow 2pint Software at 2pint Software. Be sure to tweet any questions you may have, and we'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.